So it appears that Congress is not satisfied with the way that the SEC is handling this entire AMC and GME situation, or at least dealing with matters involving Citadel Securities and Ken Griffin. And I wonder why. Now, not everybody at Congress is opposed to Gary Gensler's methods, but some of them are. And I think you and I both know why. But anyhow, I'm playing another clip for you guys today. Here's part 3 of the series that I promised you. And this is Gary Gensler testifying for Congress. Hope you guys enjoyed this. We're going to get right into it. But before we do, please do not forget to smash that like button so that the YouTube algorithm shares this with as many apes as possible. And definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new, because I put content out just like this every single day.
In your previous tenure at the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, you were an advocate of providing no action relief to regulated financial entities within your jurisdiction. Now, over the last few years, the SEC has not provided no action relief to innovators, in my opinion, nearly enough. The SEC has also provided 21A investigatory reports on matters of general interest under the Exchange Act. What would you say to innovators who are nervous about approaching the SEC? And how can you improve the use of no action relief and other public statements like 21A reports?
Senator, I thank you for that question, and thank you for our continuing dialogue about innovation. I do think that Congress gave the SEC important authorities, not only to do what you call no action letters, but exemptive authorities and the like. And so I have said, come in, whether it's in the cryptocurrency space or in other innovative spaces, come in, talk to us, and see if our rules for custody, for instance, which I know we've talked about, or transfer agents or something, don't quite fit because they were written in a bricks and mortar time and now we're in a digital time. Let's talk about that. If we need to go to Congress, but maybe we can cobble together something. We did this in money markets in the 1970s. Good people in the state of Pennsylvania, Senator Toomey's state, came into the SEC and sought authorities to do money markets, and that's now a $5 trillion asset class. So I think there's room here to sort things out and try to figure it out, to keep things investor protection focused, but to sort out the new innovations.
And my adjunct question is the general question just about innovation. Do you support responsible innovation?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's brought us these lights in the room. It's brought us this ability to have a hybrid hearing with your fellow members. I mean, innovation is what supports access, economic activity, and gives so much of us better opportunities in life.
So, given that, how do you right-size the protections that are within your ambit to innovation generally?
No, it's an excellent question that I'm sure this committee grapples with decade after decade. I think it's the core public policy framework around ensuring that the public's not defrauded, that somebody's not misleading them and lying to them, to ensure that if you hold somebody's asset, you don't misuse it or abuse it, so to speak, the physical asset. And then on trading platforms, at the heart of our 1934 Act was that competition basically drives to more efficient market, and people don't manipulate that market, don't front run, for instance, in those markets. And I think that these basic tenets of anti-fraud, anti-manipulation, but pro-competition lower the cost of capital for companies raising money and innovators and entrepreneurs, even if they're using, for instance, cryptocurrencies and the like. But I think that inside that policy envelope that we have is a great deal of opportunity. I think it's at the heart of our economic success these last 90 years that we have deeply market-based economy. I said we have the largest capital markets in the world, almost 70% greater than our economic share, 38 points versus 23 points. There's a reason, and I think it helps our economy, but it's also because it's regulated, anti-fraud, anti-manipulation.
So what gaps do you think exist, and what additional regulatory authority would be useful, both at the CFTC and at the SEC, specifically with regard to digital assets?
I think that we have a great deal of authority. I think there's more clarity than some members on this committee. I mean, I know we're maybe a little bit different on that. But I think that in terms of the gaps, we have a great deal of clarity on, I think, what's the security, but the gaps is the coordination amongst our agencies. So, for instance, the coordination with the banking agencies on stable value coins that Senator Toomey raised earlier, the coordination with my sibling agency that I was honored to chair, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, on the tokens themselves and the platforms, because to the extent something is a commodity, even the CFTC doesn't have regulatory authority, they have enforcement authority. A wonderful piece that Dawn Stump wrote recently that I thought was worth reading. But working together with the CFTC and how to coordinate. And then there's some in the, I would say, infrastructure side, things around transfer agents, custody and the like, that I think we could work with Congress to help clarify.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Warner from Virginia is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your comments about, in your opening comments about my legislation that deals with disclosure around the workforce. I want to come to that topic, but I'm going to quickly, Chair Gensler, respond to a couple of my colleagues' comments. One, I want to agree with Senator Reid. This payment for order flow, we've been talking about for close to a decade, and we need to sort through it. I think there would be broad bipartisan agreement about that. Let's make sure we make that happen. On incident reporting in terms of cyber, I think the Intelligence Committee probably has as much visibility into that space as anyone anywhere. We have virtually every member of the Intelligence Committee, Democrat and Republican, together on a bipartisan mandatory incident reporting bill for critical infrastructure, for federal contractors. We're trying to work through details. My hope is we can work with you. If you're going to have a mandatory reporting requirement, you've got to have a penalty or it's toothless. But we are trying to work with industry to make that happen, because I think, as echoing Senator Tester, it's only going to get worse. And as someone who shares some of your concerns about crypto, I will acknowledge that you have only put one wild in front of West as opposed to two wild West. And as somebody who's worked with Senator Toomey and Senator Loomis, I think and somebody who managed to do pretty well financially because of innovation, I'm all in. But we do need some guidance. We do need some direction. This is, I would go to the two wilds in terms of the description of this area. As good as some of the innovation is, Senator Loomis, some of the things I see from the Intel side scare the dickens out of me. So we need to figure out a way to, maybe I ought to join the caucus because we got to find a way to come together on this area of innovation, but also area where I can assure you abuse. I will give the industry one credit here. When we were going through this definitional process, I heard from more newspapers, newsletters, entities for a group that says they're not very well organized. I've never seen a group that's got as many publications as the crypto world already has. Let me get to in my last 2.5 minutes, get to the topic I wanted to address, which is human capital investment. I think we've all acknowledged that every CEO says my biggest asset walks out the door each day, human capital. Yeah, we don't have virtually any reporting. I agree with the chairman. When companies offload their workers as contractors, they're really not putting their money where their mouth is. So I think our Workforce Investment Disclosure Act, which passed the House, I hope will be part of the guidance of what kind of activities you take. We've got to make sure we have ways, because I believe investors want to know employee retention. They want to know what kind of skills and training is taking place. Matter of fact, I hope that you will also go beyond workforce and really look at the whole realm of ESG reporting. Investors want this, yet There are no standards at this point. I'm not saying we need to move to mandatory across the board, but we really need some more look there. And I do want to make sure I get a question in here. And this is, again, a topic you and I have talked about in the past. I've got other legislation that would create the equivalent of an R&D tax credit, which was a radical notion, as you know, in the accounting world back in the 1970s and early 80s, to create an R&D tax credit type equivalent for companies that invest in upskilling, particularly low and moderate paid workers. I think creating an asset class around human capital makes some sense, or at least is worthy of a discussion. And I hope you'll be willing. You can pick any of those items along the way, Chair Gensler, and comment back. But I hope you'll focus on the workforce piece. Thank you,
Senator. I thank you on cyber. I look forward to working further with your staff, and I share your view in the crypto space. There's an intersection that it's a way to subvert our current anti-money laundering laws and subvert various things that in the Intelligence Committee we're all trying to protect on. I didn't use that term. I want to be respectful. I mean, I just used one wild. I do look forward to getting out to your great state of Wyoming when all these masks go away and everything. But on the workforce, just to say, we have looked closely at your bill and other committee members. It's like ultimately what investors tell us during the notice and comment period too. So when we put something out, hopefully that you'll weigh in. Also, all of the members here will weigh in and say, do investors really want this information? I've always found that if you're going to buy a company, or sell a company when I was doing that at Goldman Sachs, that people really wanted to have a thorough review of that workforce. And it's ups and downs. It's an asset, and it's a critical asset. So I couldn't agree with you more on that, sir.